Howdy folks, thanks for joining me at the in the bar. I'm doing tasting today on the Chai IPA, the CHAIPA, which was brewed back on the 29th of April. I'll stick a link up to the brew day video, and this is an IPA which I've infused with, or added some chai tea spices, obviously a chai blend into the end of the boil on this IPA. This is an idea I had for a while. I like the sound of the CHAIPA. I've had IPA in the past, maybe 3 different versions where they've used some tea in the brew. Gotta say, I've never been a massive fan, but I said just that the CHAIPA just rolls off the tongue, so I thought I've got to try it. And I hadn't tried chai in a beer. The beers I've tried really were just sort of traditional tea. They go for a bit of an Earl Grey, so I thought the chai would be a little bit different. So just going to pour this fella while I'm doing that. Big shout out to Little John's Patrons. Thank you guys for your support. Patreon particularly is what really allows me to play around with different things and do different brews and do experiments and stuff on the channel. So thank you very much for those guys. There's a link down the bottom if you're interested in having a look what it's all about. Okay, so that's a little bit bit more fizzier than out of the keg. There's a bit of crud in there getting stirred up. Now this bottle has only been sort of tossed in the freezer like half an hour ago, because I actually forgot that I was preparing to do the tasting, and I forgot that I actually split this batch into 2 and did 2 different yeasts. So I went crazily, desperately diving into the boxes of beers to find the bottled version. So patrons, thank you. Subscribers, thank you as well. If you aren't subscribed, hit the subscribe button down there in the corner. And if you like the video as you go along, give me a thumbs up. But anyway, so the base beer is a cut down, revised version of the Pliny the Elder clone brew. I just took that and pulled it down to get to the target gravity I was looking for, and it's made quite a nice looking brew. It's got a lovely gold shine to it. These glasses aren't the best for showing clarity with their shape, but it is quite a nice light bright brew. Okay, we'll start over here. So the intended batch is this fella, which was brewed with BRY 97. The base, the tea and spice blend was added into the whirlpool. This beer was bottled around middle of May. I'm not sure the exact date. I'm getting 2 dates here, 21st and 22nd. I'm thinking the 21st was probably the date that the keg was done, and the 22nd was probably the day the bottles were done. But either way, a ferment of around, what have we got here, 10, 13, around 3 weeks, 3 and a bit weeks, 23 sort of days. So it's now been kegged in the bottle for 13, 9, 22, again about the same, about 22 days, just over 3 weeks. So it's in that mark where I'd really like to let beers sit before getting into it, so I'm happy with that. I have had a glass or three of the off the keg as I've been going along. I haven't had one for probably a week and a half. So BRY 97 London Ale, both Lallemand yeast strains, dry, 1 packet of each into a 9 litre ferment for both. So the nose, first thing you're getting is that chai note, the tea, and a bit of the spices, sort of picking up the cardamom. But that's the main note. It's mainly that tea vibe. So I've not tried one of the bottles until this point, so what difference the London make, who knows? But I'm actually thinking the tea note's a bit more subdued on that. Now that may just be part of the kegging / bottling. Not sure. Maybe because something's been able to settle out. Let's start there. So the very first thing you get is a little bit of sweetness from the malt, a little smooth sweet hit, and then you get the tea comes in. You know, there's a little bit of astringency there with the tea, and that's certainly, it's settling down now. It's not as let's say savage as it was initially. That tea note was very strong, and as the beer has sort of aged a little bit, it's starting to settle and become less pronounced and sort of in your face and up front. It then settles as you drink, and I found when I've been trying it that it takes just a little while for the mouth to adjust to that tea note, and really, you know, allow your palate to pick up the other flavours and things that are going on. But that's less intense than it was, and it hasn't taken that. In that second mouthful, there was far less astringency in it, and a lot more of the flavours going on. That, as I've gone through and tried, the first mouthful has been very much just boof. It just sort of really rips in. Yeah, much like having a real strong cup of black tea. Yeah, it's a shock for the mouth, and it takes a little bit to gather. Like drinking any seriously hoppy beer. Of really any beer with any significant flavours. That first mouthful or two, I mean sometimes three, can be quite intense, and it can take a little bit of time to adjust to it. So let's see how this goes. And like I said, this is a London Ale, and I said in the video on Brew Day when I was talking about the yeast that I did expect this one to hold back a little bit more body. Now I've really been very bad with my note taking on this. I've got very little information. I don't know what the gravity. I've got a final gravity of 1014 from a 1058 start. Now the 1058 obviously is both beers because it was only just split for the yeast. I've got 1014 at 5.8%, and this is what's on the board, so I'm assuming that's the BRY 97, but I've got no indication as to what the London has finished at. So that is basically 75% attenuation. So actually a little bit less than I was expecting with the BRY. I thought it might have got about 77, so I thought we might have got a point or two lower, but we didn't. But let's see how this London goes. As I said, there's definitely a little bit less of that. I'm saying it's astringent, the nose, because it's not a particular, it's not a smell I can really put my finger on, but it just, for me, it's just reminded me of that, you know, the harshness of that you can get from tea. But it's almost got a bit more roundness and a little bit more, a bit gentler and a little bit sweeter, but with the nose. I said I expect that the body would be a little bit heavier. I would have expected this to finish maybe a 0.23 higher. So I wouldn't have been surprised if this finished at 10.15, 10.16. Okay, that, as it sits, is a very, very different feeling beer. One has got a lot more gas in it. Almost makes one sort of wonder whether there's been a little bit of continued fermentation in the bottle. That's been counteracted in the keg because the keg's been in there, it's been cold. Where the bottles have been sitting at room temp up until, I said, half an hour ago. But there's definitely a lot more carbonation there. It's a lot fizzier in the mouth. It's a lot softer. It's a little bit sweeter with that extra carbonation, but I think, yeah, I really think that's done a little bit more fermenting in the bottle. It actually feels like it's thinner, even though there's more. It initially feels like there's more body there with the gas. Yeah, this beer is not undercarb by any stretch of the imagination. But it is considerably less than that. So it's, I was going to say it's quite a lot drier, but it's not really. The dryness is fairly similar. So maybe we've come to a fairly similar sort of place with the gravity. Maybe that's just potentially come from a little bit extra in the bottle. But it's not massive. I mean, it hasn't spewed. You know, there's still crud sitting on the bottom of that bottle, and it hasn't been. It only been in the freezer for 20 minutes, so it hasn't had a good time, an amount of time to compact. So if there was an overcarbonation issue, it would have spewed. The bottle didn't spew on opening. It didn't have an excessive amount of gas or anything. It's just got a fairly healthy sort of carbonation going on. Like the carbonation's a bit off-putting. It is a little bit too fizzy, but flavour-wise, taste-wise, the different yeast hasn't really done anything. It's sitting in the same sort of place. I'm really happy with the malt base, with the base beer. I was very interested to see where that went, where that would sit with that cut down from that Pliny, with the cut down from the Pliny. And I think there's quite quite a nice beer sitting there. I said the hopping, the whole thing was really cut down on the point. It wasn't just the malt. There is some serious hopping going on here. But you can't really get it over from behind the tea. I wasn't sure whether the tea was going to be too much, not enough, how it was going to work, whether it was going to be, you know, noticeable, whether, you know, was it going to get lost. It certainly hasn't got lost. It is very much there. Is it working in a positive note? Oh, I wouldn't say yes. For me, it's a beer that's got some character. It's not necessarily a character I'm a real big fan of. I think some people would really enjoy it. Some people would absolutely hate it. There's no doubt about that. When I first started tasting it, I thought, oh geez, this is horrendous. And to some degree, there's still part of me that still thinks that. Yeah, it's certainly not a beer I'm in a rush to drink. But it still provides you with enough interest and enough of the malt and the hoppy vibe to keep you coming back to it. It's got a nice feel. It's got a nice presence in the mouth. Just that tea note, yeah. It's just. I think it could come down. It could come down a little bit. I think it was 3 tablespoons of the hop blend in a hop bag at the end of the boil. So that was on your whole 8. That was on the full volume, which was 18 litres. So I think that could have been pulled down to about 2 tablespoons, and still would have provided some tea notes without being too overpowering. But then at the same time, dropping it down that far, it may get lost. I think it certainly worked better in summer on a warm day, when you're looking for something a bit more first quenching, because I think it's certainly got that characteristic. It's got that first quenching vibe about it. Right now it's pretty cold. It's probably only about 16 degrees here in the shed. It's verging on cool, so it's not the best weather for it. But yeah, it's done. The CHAIPA is done. I am really keen to brew this beer with just the base as it is, without the tea in it. Again, leading into summer. So I will certainly be doing that, because I think take the tea out of that, and I think there is a really good light summery IPA sitting there. So I will probably be brewing this again with a little bit of a change up, getting rid of the tea. But anyway, Brewventure's for a reason. And there's a reason why you don't see a lot of beers with tea in it. It's definitely going to be an acquired, yeah, I don't know if it's an acquired taste, but it's, like I said, it's going to be a taste that a lot of people aren't going to like. Some people are going to love. If nothing else, I said take that base and have a crack at it, because I think it does work well, and I think it's going to make a really good beer on its own. When the beer and the own hops in there can stand up and do their thing. But anyway, that's her. Any comments, any questions, stick them down the bottom. I said, once again, Patreons, thank you. Subscribers, thank you. Links are all down the bottom. Hit the buttons to do whatever you need to do. But as always, thanks for joining me. I have fun playing around with these sort of things. Who knows what the next Brewventure idea will be for John, and when it will pop in my head and when it will happen. But for now, to continue on. So till I see you again, we're brewing beer, drinking beer or talking beer, good brewing.